everyone. And happy Tuesday to you. We are here at 901 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers, and it is shortly after the 6 p.m. hour. And we're calling this 2022 millage rate hearing to order. Director Rutledge, I'm going to yield to you, and then we'll go to Executive Director Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is our second of 3 public hearings on the millage rate, and tonight we'll start with a presentation by our Finance Director, Mr. Mark Lewis, and then we will go into public comment.
All right, very good. So just like what we had this morning, Director Lewis, we'll come on up and rock and roll. Yes. And let me just, for the purpose, before Director Lewis start, so that we don't have the unnecessary feedback, I think everybody want to be able to hear. We do have a packed crowd, and we have a good number of people who are listening on the outside on their devices. If you're on the inside and you have a device on, please be sure to go ahead and turn it off, because you're getting it live right in front of us. The folks on the outside, they need to be able to hear what's being said on the inside. So we just ask that you would be mindful because of the communication. Y'all know how technology is. It interferes at the wrong time. So I would ask that if you have on a device, if you go ahead and turn your device off at this time, and so that the folks on the outside will. Now I'll turn it back over to our Chief Financial Officer and Executive Director of Finance, Mr. Mark Lewis.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioner Washington, Commissioner Williams.
Good evening.
I'm Mark Lewis, CFO, Director of Finance here at Rockdale County. This is a presentation for the 2022 proposed millage rate. Next slide, please. The advertised rate was 20.758. However, the proposed rate is 18.69. The advertised rate represented where the rate would have been if we had not used ARPA funds for operations this year. The injection of these funds allowed us to increase services without impacting the millage rate. Again, the proposed rate is 18.69. This rate breaks down as follows: 2022 revenues of $93,400,000, 2022 expenditures of $86,800,000, and debt associated with the courthouse improvement of $6,600,000. Next slide, please. A review of our FY22 budget allocation shows 48% of our budget is attributed to public safety, which includes sheriff, fire, and EMA. 30% of our budget is allocated to general government departments. 11% is for court services, with recreation, parks, and transportation at 6% and 5% respectively. Next slide, please. Highlights of our 2022 budget include the following. All current programs and services are funded. We have a balanced 2022 budget. Rockdale County continues to follow protocols concerning equipment, supplies, and services as it relates to the pandemic. Our senior services have provided over 111,000 meals to Rockdale seniors from the period of March 31, 2020 to June 30th, 2022. And our Parks and Recs Department began the programming of the Grady Jarrett Resource Opportunity Center with the implementation of esports. Next slide, please. Our public safety has established a mobile medic response team for rapid response at events and emergencies. Our emergency management agency has purchased a new 911 building. Our animal control services has completed the grand opening of the Animal Services Shelter expansion, and the Board of Elections and Voter Registration relocated to a new building with larger space. Next slide, please. This slide shows our tax digest since 2010. As a reminder, the tax digest is the total value of all property in Rockdale County. In 2021, the tax digest was $2.9 billion. And in 2022, the tax digest is $3.7 billion. Next slide, please. This slide shows the history of the millage rate since 2010. In 2015 through 2019, the millage rate was 20.19. In both 2020 and 2021, we took a rollback, and that was 18.02 in 2020 and 16.69 in 2021. We are proposing a rate of 18.69 for FY22. Next slide, please. The overall property tax allocation shows 82% goes towards school maintenance and operation, and 18% going towards the county maintenance and operations. These calculations are based on the 2022 homestead property, which also includes the host exemption. Next slide, please. Host exemptions. This chart shows the host exemption since 2017. With a millage rate of 18.69, host exemptions would be $20.3 million. The exemptions are the total credits received by residential property owners, and even during rollback years, the total credits have increased. Next slide, please. Here we have a sample property tax calculation, again at the rate of 18.69 mils. For a property with a value of $250,000, the estimated property tax with exemption and 70% host would be $476.60. In 2021, that tax was $425.60, which is an increase of $51. Estimated property tax at the same $250,000 value without the exemption is $1,869 in 2021, and without the exemption in 2022 will be $1,669, an increase of $200. Next slide, please. Our timeline connected with the millage rate is as follows. This morning we had our first millage rate presentation at 10 a.m. This is our second one now at 6 p.m. We have another one on August 9th at 10 a.m. And the actual setting of the millage rate will take place on August 16th at 6 p.m. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this concludes the millage rate presentation, and we can move on with the rest of the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Director Lewis. Thank you, Director Lewis. We will now, Director Rutledge.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we will now enter into the public comment phase of our public hearing. Tonight, each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes per speaker, and we are here to talk about the millage rate. Once the chairman calls your name, if you could come up to the podium. We also have Chief McDaniel that will be helping with those that are on the outside of these doors who also want to speak. We will be placing the speakers into a queue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. And as it has been stated, we will follow the exact same protocol that we had this morning. We had a standing room crowd only this morning and overflow out on the front steps. Let me just take a moment because I'm going to call the names of each speaker. We have it currently, I have over 40 speakers who've signed up to speak. We are going to make sure that every speaker has the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm going to make sure that every single person who has taken the time out of their schedule and busy afternoon and evening, who have come out here to voice their concerns and to express their concerns and views, that they have an opportunity to speak. I'll ask that you be respectful and let's be mindful of the meeting. We want to hear from every citizen in Rockdale County. We believe that you have the right to express your voice and your opinion, and we're going to afford everybody that opportunity to do that. Keep in mind, again, there are folks listening to our broadcast via other locations, and if you have a device on, we ask that you make sure it's turned off. I'm going to call the names. The deputy and Chief Mack, who are handling the door, they will make sure that folks are announced on the outside so that we don't miss anybody, because everyone is not inside the auditorium. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and call the first 3 names. If you're the first person that I call, I'd ask that you would just make your way up to the podium, and I'll call the other two people as well, okay? Ms. Collins, there's a seat right up there in the front corner there, Ms. Collins, or there's one right there behind you, either way. Yes, ma'am. So the first individual, thank you, Chief Mack. The first is Ms. Cheryl Garcia. The second would be Mr. Larry Cox. And I'm not sure if Mr. Cox is in the audience. Go ahead and get him outside. And Mr. Ernest Hill, who is in the audience. So we'll take Mr. Hill right after Ms. Garcia, and then we'll go with Mr. Cox. Ms. Garcia, go right ahead.
Good evening. While your constituents, especially senior citizens, single parents, and those on fixed incomes, have to decide whether to eat chicken or a can of soup, and you tell us to shop the rock, you took 30 directors and deputy directors to South Carolina for a 3-day teach seminar at a pricey hotel catered by Ruth Chris Steakhouse, instead of paying the trainer to come to costly Mill Park. TEACH stands for Training, Empowerment, Accountability, Communication, Honesty, and Ethics. Now you're planning to return to South Carolina for the BOC retreat, which you had at the luxurious Chateau Elan Resort last year during a pandemic. This does not demonstrate sound fiscal accountability or good ethics. With inflation at a 40-year high and up 9.1% since June, people are struggling to buy food, gas, and medications. Your proposed 45.42% increase in property taxes is a slap in the face and shows a blatant disregard for our struggle. The difference between last year's 16.69 millage rate and your initial rate of 20.758 is actually 24.4%, not 45.42%. Only this morning did the citizens learn that you now propose a millage rate of 18.69, which is still 12% higher than last year. This is not honesty nor clear communication, and this is the same type of mathematical misstatement that was made by this BOC last year. This is simple algebra and explains why we need a forensic audit. The artificial increase in home values is a bubble that is already bursting, just like in 2008. Since 2018, our property tax has increased a whopping 62%. Newton County has 115,000 citizens with a general fund budget of $85 million, and they plan a millage rate of 9.45, which includes a pay and benefit increases. Gwinnett County has 957,000 residents, and they're going to keep their millage rate at 14.71. Rockdale County, the second smallest county in Georgia, has a population of only 93,000, a general fund of almost 87 million, and you plan now a millage rate of 18.69, which is ridiculously high. 2 of the 3 commissioners don't even pay property taxes, and you keep buying parks and hiring employees. This proposed tax increase and your PFA will cause many citizens to lose their homes. My father always stressed the importance of knowing the difference between your needs and your wants. It's high time for you to show that you can be fiscally responsible with our hard-earned money. Enough is enough. This BOC needs to reduce their budget just like every other American is having to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Ms. Hill, I want to say thank you to Ms. Garcia. Ms. Garcia, we certainly appreciate you coming out this evening, and thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens here in Rockdale County. Mr. Hill?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
As a lifelong resident of Rockdale, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to the property taxes because up until I retired, because when I was working, it didn't make any difference. But now I'm considered a senior citizen. And with the millage rate going up, I know for a fact that the Board of Education didn't take theirs up, they lowered it because they have a surplus. And I want to understand why the taxes are going up and where the money is going to, because the Board of Education don't need it. Last year, we rolled the runoff tax onto our tax bill. Now I'm paying two. I own one property, but it's split, and I'm paying runoff taxes for both pieces of property. But it's just one property, which bags up to Almond Creek. They actually should be paying me because Almond Creek's on my property. I don't think that the senior citizens should be paying school property taxes. Why do we have to pay school property taxes? We don't have anybody in school. Are we trying to gentrify Rockdale County? I'm just curious because I see a lot of houses going up, and if the property taxes go up, a lot of your senior citizens going to lose their properties. They're not going to be able to pay them. I'll be struggling to pay mine. If it goes up, then my property tax will be as much as my mortgage a year almost. And we need an explanation as to where the funds are going. She said a while ago that we need a forensic accountant to come in and look at it. Maybe we do. Because I'm just concerned as not just for myself, but all the other seniors and retirees in the county as to why we're having to roll up our property taxes when we are the second smallest county in the state. And as you always say, the best county to live in. If the taxes keep going up, it's not going to be the best county. We want to have people running. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. We appreciate you coming out and appreciate we hear you loud and clear. Mr. Cox, come on up.
So, this morning, I believe during your comments, you asked for people to give suggestions of what we can do to remedy some of these things. Got a couple things in mind. Ms. Garcia mentioned the fact about the 30 employees or so that went to the retreat this past year. I think we need to put a moratorium on travel at this point. I've run a successful company here in Conyers since 2014, made a profit every single year. I look at the budget, I look at what's going on, and I make cuts and decide what to do. Put a moratorium on travel and expenses, especially during these recessionary times when inflation has hit these citizens hard. Second, we have 35 or so employees that take cars home daily. I have the same thing in my business. We have some employees that take car homes daily. But we also have employees that bring their cars back to the shop daily and take their own personal cars home. I recommend that we look at not issuing these cars to individual. It will save us on maintenance, insurance, and other costs. There are ways to do this. If we look at our budget right now for employees that we have vacancies, let's do a hiring freeze and put that money back into the general fund. There are things that we could do. As these seniors have come up and talked, I'm going to repeat some of the things I said this morning. 15.7% of our citizens are senior citizens. 12.4% of the citizens in this county are in poverty. Simple mathematics will tell us that these senior citizens are the ones that are the majority of those in poverty. These senior citizens are being taxed out of home ownership and independent living, and it's a shame. At some point, a citizen should own that piece of property that they've worked so hard their whole lives, and we're not allowing that to happen. Instead, we're making, seniors are downsizing. Seniors don't downsize from the home that they've raised a family in for 30 or 40 years because they want to. They downsize because they can't afford the property taxes. That's the reality of what's going on. I represent a group called the Rockdale Voter. We will be asking the Georgia legislature to introduce legislation that will eliminate property taxes on seniors over 70 from the Board of Commission, the Board of Education, and the City of Conyers. This type of legislation has been introduced in states and counties all over this country. We will ask them to graduate that at a certain point from 65 to 70. Those that are already 70 will get that deduction. And then you'll say, well, we're going to bankrupt this or that. No, we're not going to bankrupt them. We're going to say you're not going to provide services. Georgia Constitution requires you to provide police and fire services. You will provide those services above everything else. And you will protect our senior citizens. Thank you.
Mr. Cox, want to say thank you for coming out this evening and sharing your point of view. Next up, we have 3 additional speakers I want to call. I'm going to call them by threes. The first speaker will be Mr. Mark Flowers, followed by Ms. Karen Winsley, and then we'll have Ms. Jackie Johnson Dickerson, in that order, please. Mark Flowers, Karen Winsley, Jackie Johnson Dixon. Thank you.
Mark Flowers.
Hang on one second. All right, Mr. Flowers, go right ahead.
So first, Commissioners, thank you very much for holding the hearings and allowing all the citizens of Rockdale County to voice their opinions. I'm sure from the earlier morning meeting that a lot of people already made a lot of points that I was intending to make, so I have different points, hopefully. So I'm going to start. I have 5 points on a question. So my question is, what specifically is the money going to be spent on? The presentation gave percentages and very generalizable information, but nothing specific. Why would there be such a dramatic increase from one year to the next? That makes no sense. Unless there was not great accounting within the county finances to begin with. So we probably do need to look at that and figure out why our county finances so off base. Like, how did we have such a dramatic increase from one year to the next? The next part is the affordable housing initiative that I found on Doreen Williams's Facebook page. How is it possible that you can have a goal of affordable housing while also increasing property taxes? That makes no sense. The gentrification point that people are making happened in Atlanta, happened in Decatur, and now it appears to be attempting to be made here. If that's the objective, tell us. If it's not the objective, then probably we shouldn't raise our taxes. Point number 3, the homestead exemption was not meant. I noticed that on the presentation that your county finance officer made, talked about the decrease, the comparison between after our homestead exemption, how we weren't going to be paying that much in taxes. But the problem is, the homestead exemption was not meant to be a grab from the state back to the county. It was meant to be for the citizens of the county so they could make sure that they were secure in their homes and had a place to live indefinitely, including senior citizens, but everyone. Secondly, the travel thing. I wasn't going to bring this point up at all, but other people brought it up. Why are we spending money outside the county? Hold events here. Bring money here. Let sales taxes and revenues come to Rockdale County. I remember whenever I moved to Rockdale County in 2012 that we used to talk about Rockdale County being the emerald of I-20. Well, why not bring people to the emerald of I-20 and spend their money in this county? Okay. My 5th point is, it seems like on that budget there were a lot of new buildings, a lot of things being built or remodeled or whatever. If we didn't have the money to begin with, if that county wasn't already there when we started those projects, why did they start to begin with? So again, we need the accounting. We need to see that. So I hope that you're all there. Mr. Nesbitt, you and I are friends. I hope that this goes through. Doreen, in the past, until recently when I messaged you on Facebook, you talked to me. I don't know you very well, Sherry, but I hope that you all heard everything that I said and everything these other great people are going to say to you tonight. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Flowers. Ms. Winsley, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing good.
Good. To Chairman Nesbitt, the other commissioners, I'm here representing myself. I've been within Rockdale County since I've moved to Georgia. Unfortunately, I've been here for 12 years. And unfortunately, right at the beginning of the pandemic, I lost my job. So just like the seniors that are talking about actually having a fixed income, I then started a new business within Rockdale County, and as a result, my income is not fixed. It is uncertain. My income is not fixed. It is uncertain. And every year that I've been here in Rockdale County, the property taxes have been going up, Mr. Lewis had provided the information on the millage rate and also the tax, what do you call it, the tax digest. Although what wasn't shared is what is Rockdale doing to maintain the millage rate or even lower the millage rate for this year versus having an increase. So these hearings not only should be hearing from the public, but it should be also hearing from you, from Rockdale County, to understand what you have done in order to maintain this. And I intentionally am wearing red because I oppose this. The reason why I oppose this is that I plan on retiring in Rockdale County. As I stated before, my income is uncertain. By the grace of God, I've been, fortunate with, maintaining over this last several years. But I don't want to have to plan into retirement and be like others within this great, I should say, or wanted to say, great county, that I can't afford to stay here within Rockdale County because I'm being taxed out. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Thank you so much. Come on up, Ms. Dixon.
Good afternoon, board members
Good afternoon.
and Rockdale County citizens. This morning, I was present at the hearing where members of the public were given an opportunity to speak of the impact of the millage rate, and they thought the impact of the property tax increase proposed by the county. One question kept resounding in my head. Are we seeing something called changing demographics at its very beginning? I noticed an odor after everyone spoke, and that odor was the odor of pathos. People were hurting. Seniors are scared to death. They're afraid to leave their homes that they think they will no longer own. And I could feel the pain of all my fellow citizens. You had to feel it. You had to feel it. People are afraid. My mind flashed back to my mother, who was an educator. She insisted that at 6 years old, I had to develop a budget to spend my allowance. We were never allowed to spend money we did not have. Does the county develop a budget? County workers, whom I'm sure live in Rockdale County, deserve a raise. But did the county have the money to give them the raise? Now, the county received, from what I understand, as recent as June 9th, 2022, $8 million. What will be done with those dollars? My question is, seniors who are locked in their homes, afraid of the predators on the street and the predators in the county. Seniors who think they're in the security of their homes, and then they think about it, and they say, I may not have this home much longer. It's not right. I beg you to consider the seniors who find themselves at the mercy of this board. Please, please think of the seniors. We're hurting. Not just the seniors, all residents here in Rockdale County. But we are hurting and we are afraid. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dixon. Appreciate your comments this afternoon. Next up, we will have the following three: Ms. Charlotte Gellert, Ms. Linda Scott, and Mr. William Richardson. Mr. William Richardson, Ms. Linda Scott, and Ms. Charlotte Geller. Give just a moment, the chief will make the announcement for those three names outside, and then we'll go from there. Come on up, Ms. Geller.
Good to see y'all again. You remember what I said this morning? I don't have to repeat it. Okay. I have some questions. One of the numbers in CFO Lewis's presentation said the digest for 2022 was $3,722,868. However, the one published in the paper said it was $4,250,096. I know Larry asked this question. I would like to know this question also. The proposed millage rate of 18.69, how much revenue would that generate? Also, the public notice says that the rollback rate would be no more than 14.275. I'd also like to know how much revenue, based on the higher property assessments, would bring in. Last year, when you took the rollback rate, lost, according to the chart, you lost $1.1 million. That was made up with ARPA money, et cetera, et cetera. Many of the people said, cut expenses. Do you have a suggestion box for employees to make suggestions to cut expenses? Employees would be the ones that would know what to do. Also in the presentation, I think I saw 19 point something million for, and thank you for putting this on the website, I barely had time to print it all out. Courthouse improvements, $6,600,000. There's $19 million in the 2023 SPOST that was just approved, and that 2023 SPOST, you might say, well, it'll take us 6 years to earn enough money to do that. That SPOST authorizes a general obligation bond of $20 million, where the 2017 SPOST and the ones previously only authorized a $10 million general obligation bond. Another thing, in April, when y'all did the budget amendment, using the ARPA funds for the 16.7% pay increases, the total cost of the market study was $4,500,000 and change for the rest of this year. The judges were another $39,000. Vacancy control, $2 million, almost $2.5 million. The definition of vacancy control is the non-funding of previously approved positions that are vacant. Last year, as part of the budget, we had actual vacancies that we did not fund for the 2022 budget year. Those unfunded positions were part of vacancy control. I ask you not to put those in the budget again this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillard. Thank you so much for all that you do. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, all right, the next set of three will be Pansy Drummond Martin, Ms. Martin, Ms. Brenda Anderson, and Ms. Diana Lee Collins. All right, Ms. Collins is on the front row, and we have a Pansy Martin and a Brenda Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I think we skipped somebody. Did we? I think we just had a little confusion here. Are you Ms. Ryder? Is that who you were? Ms. Scott.
Ms. Linda Scott?
Okay.
Okay, because he didn't just call my name, so.
No, we called you a few moments ago.
You were outside, I was in here.
Ma'am, we called you.
Oh, That's,
That's okay. We got it sorted out. That's all right, Mr. Chairman, we can.
Ms. Scott, thank you for speaking up before you speak up. I want to make
You
sure
betcha.
that everybody has the opportunity to have an opportunity to have their voice heard, and we apologize for that little glitch right there, but we got you up. Go right ahead.
I don't have a bunch of statistics and so forth.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
I bought my house as a single mother in 1999 in the city, and married in 2003, remarried. And my husband and I are both retired. He's not able to work any longer. He's 71 years old, too. He had surgeries that took him out of the workplace. They begged him to stay, but he had to quit after being there for about 12 years. But we have very limited income, and we can't afford another tax increase. The taxes have gone up to where in escrow, our payments are $730 a month now, gone up about $100. And so all I'm asking is that make some special provisions for senior citizens like us, but there's, like one of them said, there's single parents, usually the mothers, like I was, you know, and they need to have a break too. So, like I'm asking, please don't do this to us. If you want to improve the county, look for green space. That's one thing that y'all don't pay attention to. I saw you on Channel 23, you know, at a meeting talking about how this got built and that got built and everything, all the money it was bringing in. But I don't know if you're watching the weather channel, but every single day now it's about climate change. You can see it. Nobody can ignore that anymore. We need green space. That would improve the county properties, improve the way that people want to come here and live, you know. And I'd ask you to please look at that too. And I'm sure there's probably vacant buildings out there somewhere, probably off Sigmund Road. There's factory buildings and stuff out there for courthouse, places that are already built, you know. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Thank you so much. I think the order, if I'm not mistaken, included.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. William Richardson was next on your list.
Yes. Mr. Richardson, are you here? William Richardson, are you here? That was one of the non-responsive. I've got him over here in the holding character. Thank you, Chief. I do remember calling Ms. Collins. Come on up, Ms. Collins.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairman. Good evening.
Good evening.
Dorian Sharon. Well, I'm here at Voices of Rockdale, speaking on behalf of our senior citizens and also the citizens of Rockdale County. I think Rockdale County citizens been quiet too long. Now they're rising up, and we need to fix this for our senior citizens. We need to fix this for everyone that own their home. My husband is 72, 100% disabled. We just bought our house a few years ago in Weatherstone. So I need you, Chairman, to fix this for our senior citizens. I need you to fix this and help them. We need to get this right, because we, the citizen, the people, we are important. We are Rockdale County. We are Rockdale County. In the courthouse, that's another big issue, is fire. We need to get something that's already built and plant the administrative or juvenile, whatever we need to do to the courthouse, or put it on Parker Road. But put it here, or Sigma Road or Parker Road. But we need to fix that too. Instead of spending all this money, adding stuff to the courthouse, that's too much. And we could use it for other services. We could use it for homeless. We could use it to make more jobs. But please, I just need you to do that, please. For our citizens in Rockdale County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. And we appreciate you representing the voices for Rockdale County this evening as well. So I've got three more here we're going to call out. We have Ms. Donna Morgan. Ms. Donna Morgan. Ms. Morgan is there. Ms. Morgan, you'll be our next speaker. You could come on up, and I'll continue to call these names. I have Mr. John Bowers. Is Mr. John Bowers in the audience? Okay, I want to give this to the chief. And Miss Mary Craco. Is there Mary Craco? Greco. Okay. All right. I have Miss Donna Morgan already here. Okay. All right. I'll get Miss Anderson back in the loop. All right. Very good. Thank you, Chief. And I see Mr. Bowers just came in, and we have Miss Morgan at the podium. Go right ahead, Miss Morgan.
Good to see you, Commissioner.
Good to see you.
My question was, when we received the information about this rate hike, why? What is it that's planned to use all this money for? Whereas, you know, for every action, there's a reaction. And the reaction I've heard, not just tonight, but all over the county. And believe me, my husband and I have been roaming all over the county for different reasons, but while there, the reaction you don't want. And I know each of you individually, and I know each of you is a fine person. So I don't believe you would want the type of reaction that we have been hearing. I wholeheartedly support the things that Ms. Garcia, Ms. Cox, Ms. Dixon, Mr. Scott, and Mr. Hale has said. And perhaps we do need some forensic accounting. It never hurts to prove yourselves right. That's a good thing to always have. I'm just curious as to what has caused this raise. And then the thing that was just recently said about green space. Oh, please hear that. I have friends who, near their homes, it's being clear cut. And many of them are threatening to move out of Rockdale County for that. Please know that and pay attention to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Come on up, Mr. Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Commissioners of Rockdale County. The citizens of Rockdale County and across the nation have been and remain burdened with unprecedented inflation, which is at a 40-year high, in part due to irresponsible congressional spending. While this level of inflation is affecting all citizens, its impact is not equal. It is much greater on families that are not affluent. In Rockdale, this would include most citizens, as a median household income of $60,000 to $62,000. Keep in mind that most households, both parents work, is far below the level of affluence. Most of our citizens have been and are continuing to reduce our expenses and eliminate discretionary spending, such as visiting luxury resorts and destinations for retreats. as they make the difficult choices between filling their vehicles with gas, buying groceries, paying rent, paying utilities, paying mortgages, or buying life-saving medications. According to Moody's Analytics is the ones that issue the bond ratings on counties, by the way, inflation is now costing Americans about $450 to $460 more a month than a year ago. Now, many Rockdale citizens sit at a financial precipice of which many will be sacrificed over the cliff if further burdened with this unjustified and unreasonable property tax increase that results from irresponsible budget decisions made by this Board of Commissioners, such as injecting ARPA funds for pay raises, because that carries over year to year. ARPA funds are a one-time injection. And not just the BOC, but the Rockdale BOE. The latter for a failing school system that more money simply will not and cannot fix. For the past year, Rockdale families have had to make very difficult choices to reduce their budgets and expenses. A responsible and necessary choice that this BOC and the BOE have chosen not to do, as evidenced by their property tax increases, and instead chosen to further burden Rockdale County taxpayers, which will result in serious financial harm to our citizens. In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. This can be appended that in Rockdale County, you can be certain that this BOC and this BOE will choose to increase property taxes we pay, whether directly or indirectly, thereby hastening death to the county and its citizens. This is evident in their record across the past 6 years. I oppose this millage rate increase and recommend y'all scrap it, go back, cut the budget, and then come back with something reasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers. Ms. Anderson.
Mr. Bowers.
Mr. Bowers, thank you. Come on up, Ms. Anderson, so we can hear you on the mic.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, board members, for allowing us to be here. I understand the universe gives us roles to play. I am comfortable in the role that I play as the wife of Ewell Anderson. He is the political active one in our marriage. I normally sit back in my comfort zone. Not tonight. He's not here. He can't represent us. I did not plan to speak at this meeting, yet after I arrived and learned that the leaders were wise enough to ensure that minimal participation with the citizens of Rockdale County were taking place by having a minimum of 65 people be part of a comfort zone by being able to see you face to face in this space. Yes, this space. I had to stand outside for some time in my emotion. So I'm trying to be still right now. I've lived in Rockdale County for about 5.5 years. When I came here, my husband and I were excited. We saw opportunity to grow. I saw opportunity to become more involved in the community. I've seen the millage rates increase every year, and I've sat back and comfortably said, okay, we'll pay. We'll pay. Not tonight. I felt obligated to speak. Even though he isn't here, I feel obligated. Because there's other people out there like me that just sit back and I get active. But you forced me by that simple consideration of allowing people to participate. You forced me to get involved and speak tonight. I have some questions. That's all I could think of. I wrote some questions down. Of course, I reached back to the one who plays the political active, who represents us in this space, in my marriage. in Rockdale County on Old Salem Road Southeast. I felt obligated to speak because I think I should know, why should property owners pay taxes for poor performance? I felt obligated to speak because I need to know, what will the expenditures be? I felt obligated because I need to know, what is the board planning to do with the budget surplus? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. We appreciate you coming out. We have Ms. Paulette Mullings, Ms. Paulette Mulling, Ms. Lorna Forbes, and Mr. Jonathan Chavez. Paulette Mullings, Lorna Forbes, and Mr. Jonathan Chavez. They could very well be outside.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Jonathan Chavez. I'm running for Republican for Congress for District 4 here in Rockdale County. I'm just here to express some of the dismay that I've seen here tonight from some of the citizens. I don't need to tell you about the inflation that's going on, the fact that GDP is down for a second quarter, which means that we're in a recessionary period. Any economist worth their salt will tell you that to raise taxes during a recession is just fiscally irresponsible, because what's going to happen is businesses are going to hurt as well, because when people don't have as much money to spend on even just stuff like going to the store or even just buying gas or going to a restaurant, then if you have a business and you have property here, then you're going to pay double as much, and what's going to happen fiscally. Also, as we've seen, every time when a recession happens, what we see is unemployment right now is 3%. However, if you look at any recessionary period, unemployment is always going to rise during the recession. So what's going to happen is a lot of people are probably going to lose their jobs, and then they're going to have to pay almost more than double in property taxes. So what I'm proposing is that what we need to look at is what the budget is proposing here tonight. Maybe take lessons from what businesses do during a recession, kind of scale back a little bit on what their spending is. And I think government needs to take that into consideration and give the money to the people in order to restart the economy in Rockdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Okay. All right. Those are non-responsive. Okay. 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 All right. Okay. The next that I'm going to call chief will be Mr. Lee Snell, Miss Julia Mentor, and Miss Sharon Millage. Thank you, Ms. Millage. Snell and Mentor. Yes, thank you. Okay. There's Mr. Snell. And yeah, you come on up, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I had no intentions of coming here to say anything. I just came to see what was going on. I'm not a person that get involved in politics, and I don't care about that. But you know, it's a shame that there's people standing out there in the heat. There's a building right there that this thing could have been done in. To me, that's a demonstration of the leadership I know how to fix this. The next time there's an election, let's fix this. We better be able to fix it now. Let's fix this.
Thank you, Mr. Snell.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. I don't want to repeat what's been said because I agree with all of that. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I'd just like to mention a couple of things because although I will be a senior citizen officially next month, I want to speak about young people because how are you going to attract young families if you won't even take care of your elders? If you continue to put the burden on, senior citizens with these unprecedented increases, the practice of negligent spending on one of the smallest counties in Georgia, it'll just evaporate. This county will just be no more. Because, as I said to one of my neighbors today who I just met, his daughter went to Magnet, and she hasn't been back to Conyers since. And why is that? Just ask yourself, why is that? I think it would be, prudent for you to really think about not just today or tomorrow, but the future, and how you can be more fiscally accountable and transparent. Leverage technology, right? Instead of renovating some of these buildings, look for opportunities where some of the county employees can work from home. We had people who talked about green space. So if you reduce emissions by letting people work from home, right, then they'll be happy, right? So you have work-life balance. They might even stay. You had a mini job fair Friday, and it wasn't extremely well attended. I'm not sure why, but all of the departments were saying that they needed to have more employees. But what are you doing to really attract more employees? It's not just always about money, Let's see, more and better communication between you and us, right? Not just at campaign time, but a specific plan to frequent the businesses in the area so we can see you and you can talk to us. Because many people have ideas, but this is probably the first time you've heard a lot of these ideas. But if we see you, perhaps you can consider what we think. That's what good team leaders do, right? And then finally, I'd like you as a board to review the minutes of this agenda and take each of the points of the citizens one by one, and then publicly make those responses available along with your fiscally and ethically responsible plan for Rockdale County. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Ms. Mentor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Julia Mentor. I'm a homeowner in Rockdale County. I believe I speak for myself. All of the other residents in the county, whether disabled, not disabled, living on a fixed income, seniors, I speak for everyone. In regards to this increase, if you want to impose an increase, impose the increase on the private equity companies that are buying up the properties in the county, not the individual homeowners. Grandfather the individual homeowners in the taxes, grandfather them in, where they're not affected by the increase, but the private equity companies who are buying up the properties, I'm sure you guys have probably been subject of them because you cannot open your mailbox without getting mail from them. You are constantly getting text messages from them. You're getting phone calls from them. So if you want to do something to impose the taxes and increase the taxes, pass it on to the private equity companies who are owning several properties in the counties, who are pricing out homeowners, individual homeowners who only own one single property in the county that's trying to live and survive. This is not okay. It's unacceptable. And I oppose.
Thank you, Ms. Mentor. Thank you so much. What was the last one? All right, the next three will be the following. Mr. Daniel Kaminsky, Mr. Leonard Hawk, and Mr. James Leonard. Mr. Daniel Kaminsky and Mr. Leonard Hawk and Mr. James Leonard.
I'm Dan. I would like to respectfully yield my time to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Kaminsky. We appreciate you coming out this evening. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, Mr. Hawk, I'd like to yield my time to Ms. Garcia. Is there anything else to say?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but you're not able to yield your time to another speaker. Thank you.
Mr. Hawk, I want to say thank you for coming out this evening. We've already afforded Ms. Garcia an opportunity. She did an excellent job representing the citizens of the county. Thank you so much. Let me finish talking to him first, and then I'm going to come to you. Just want to say thank you and appreciate you yielding. You sure you don't want to come up and have an opportunity?
It's been said over and over again.
Yes, sir.
Move on.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk. Okay. Chief Matt. Mr. Leonard. Come on up, Mr. Leonard.
My name is James Leonard, and I live in the southeast portion of Rockdale County, and I've been there for about 30 years. I came to the meeting this morning, and I didn't come as a speaker, but I came to listen because what I wanted to understand was what the rationale was for this increase in a millage rate. And I was sorely disappointed. The financial presentation was nothing but a representation of large numbers that mean absolutely nothing. I'm going to be very brief. As I said, what I found this morning was most of the speakers were talking about this issue of people being forced out of their homes because of increasing taxes. And what I thought was missing was this whole idea of what's the rationale, what's the purpose, what's the reason that we need more money going into the county coffers. And I didn't hear that expressed. I have heard that expressed very well this evening, so I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on it. One of the things I did hear this morning was this board said to one of the people who was here that there was a lot of misinformation out there that drove this large turnout, and I'd like to quote from a Rockdale County press release, July 12th, that basically says, and I quote, "The Rockdale County Board of Commissioners today announces its intention to adopt a 2022 millage rate, which will require an increase in property taxes by 45.42%. And whether you want to argue about, well, this is the percent and this isn't the millage rate, the fact is you're looking for a lot of folks or a lot of money from Rockdale County folks. The other point that stuck with me is I heard a presentation this morning, and in that presentation it was stated that there was a commitment by this board to do a forensic audit 2 years ago, and the board has not acted on that. And in my estimation, that is malfeasance. We are looking at our money, the taxpayer money, and we are looking at you for fiduciary controls. We're looking at you for stewardship of these funds, and I believe that we really need to understand what the rationale is for this request. And if that can't be provided, then this rate increase needs to be taken off the table.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Appreciate you coming out this evening. Next up, we have the following three. Ms. Jerry Easley, Ms. Erling Corbett, and Ms. Kathy Denny. Ms. Jerry Easley, Erling Corbett, and Kathy Denny. Good evening, Ms. Easley.
Good evening. I'm so glad I'm surrounded by so many smart people. I didn't have to do my homework. You guys have done a great job. I'm here on behalf of my siblings. I've been in Rockdale County for over 60 years. My dad left us land. We inherited land from him. He worked and bought all the land from his siblings so that his children would have their own land. And so now that this land tax keep going up higher and higher, it's getting ridiculous. And so when you were talking about numbers, I'm like, well, that's not adding up to me. Because, I mean, last year, and we got a good amount of land, we paid $5,200, and this year it's almost $10,000. So somebody's not doing the math. And so it just breaks my heart to think that I may lose my inheritance. I may lose what my dad worked for just because of what? Somebody, I don't know yet. What is it? Greed? I don't know. But I'm not willing to do that. And so please, please, please take into consideration what this is doing to people. I've not heard anybody speak on mental health. This is going to drive me crazy if I got to come up with $10,000. So please, please take that in consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Easley. Come on up, Ms. Corbett.
Hello.
Good evening.
Chairman, Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Washington.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon. And citizens of Rockdale County. First, I'd like to say I agree with everything that's been said here tonight, and thank you all for your contributions. And I heard that there were some questions asked about what does the citizens of Rockdale County want? I'll tell you what we want. I'll tell you what I want. Number one, we want transparency. Number two, we want reasonable taxes. Number three, we don't want our dollars spent indiscriminately. Number four, we want people in our office that we can trust. We want to stay in our homes. We want to be treated like our opinions matter. We don't want to be intimidated or bullied, because that isn't going to work. Our votes count, and we want a forensic audit, and there's some resistance about the audit, and I don't know why. That's questionable. Why nobody wants to have a forensic audit done. But these are just some of the things that I think that one other thing, homeless people. I don't know what's going on with the homeless people around here, but I went to Publix the other day, and there was a lady laying on the ground in 90-degree weather, and I got out of my car, and I said to her, "Ma'am, is there anything I can do for you?" And she says, "Yes, I'm hungry." I said, would you like for me to get you a sub?" And she was very, very specific. She says, "No, I'd like to have chicken, macaroni and cheese, and vegetable." And I went into Publix, and I got her chicken, macaroni, cheese, and a vegetable, and I took it out to her. So that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. And I thank you for letting me speak.
Ms. Corbett, thank you so much. Okay. All right, Ms. Avie Williams, come on up, Ms. Williams.
I was here this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the freest thing I can do in Rockdale County now. So I just gonna come every time. Okay, so since April, when I reached out to you, I've been doing my own research, and I don't expect everything to stay the same. Things are gonna change. We're gonna get older, we're gonna change. And my great-grandfather used to say, if you don't get old, you die. So it's gonna happen. Taxes are gonna go up. I think what we're more concerned about is at the rate, the speed that has been going up, and the dollar amount that is going up. My eyes went from $1,400 to $2,800. I said, woo! And then I hear another one. I said, Dad, this is probably going to be $3,500. And of course, it's our responsibility to pay if we want to stay, right? But I want to tell you a short story really quick. It's because code enforcement, you guys did a great job getting code enforcement out on the road, out in the street, so we can see those dollars, so we can see those vehicles moving on our behalf. Not just taxpayers calling and doing the job for code enforcement, but code enforcement actually being proactive and going out. However, I was disappointed when one of the homeowners in my community who received a citation, and the code enforcement officer told the homeowner that this was ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we have to come out here and do our job. It's ridiculous. And the homeowner said, wow, well, you know, he's getting 2 citations. I said, well, have them explain to you why you're getting the citation. If it's a legitimate citation, then you need to correct the issue. But for a county officer to have the audacity, while all these people are paying for their salaries, to open their mouth and say, this is ridiculous. Why are we paying more money? So we can get slapped in the face by the people we pay.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Thank you so much. And I certainly appreciate you sharing that last piece. That really concerns me. Let me just say this, above and all that we're discussing this evening during this hearing, one of the things that we don't tolerate is poor customer and quality customer service, particularly from any one of our employees. What I would say to you and anybody listening, I have personally come out on multiple occasions myself all over the county. If you have a complaint, we need you to submit that complaint and encourage your fellow citizen or neighbor to do the same thing. I won't go back and forth in the open forum. I'm just giving a general message because it is very important that our people represent in a very professional manner, and making certain statements is not reflective of this board and the belief system that we have. So I don't know who that was, but as the chairman of the county, I certainly take ownership, because with all these matters, I believe that leadership is ownership. If you ever have an encounter, any of you, with an employee who is out of order or disrespectful, we want you to make sure you contact the proper channels so that we can follow up and follow through, because that's not who we are in this county. So I do appreciate that, and we heard you loud and clear, and we look forward to seeing you at the next hearing as well. Yes, ma'am. There's no charge to come out. All right, Mr. Roy Johnson, Ms. Catherine Geis, and Ms. Danita White. Mr. Roy Johnson, Ms. Catherine Geis, and Ms. Danita White. And I see here on the note for Ms. Danita White, she says, Chairman, I just want to go on the record that I oppose. And she doesn't want to really speak, she just wants to let the record reflect that Ms. Danita White says she opposed, and she just wanted to let the world know that she was in the midst this evening. Now, I want to call, let's try to call Mr. Roy Johnson. Is there Roy Johnson on the inside here? What about Catherine Geis on the inside?
Sir, Ms. Geis had the same message.
She wanted to let the record reflect that Ms. Geis was here in the midst of everybody. All right, while she's looking there, I'm going to call a couple of.
Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Roy Johnson, come on up, Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I just wanted to let the record reflect. I bought my first home here. I'm disabled. I have no way to barely pay this tax increase. I had my first son in that house. I got married in that house. And if you do this tax increase, it is possible that we could lose that house. I know you to be a stand-up guy. I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you.
I do remember you, sir.
And you know, I don't like to lie. It hurts me to stand here and say that I don't know how I could keep my family in Rockdale with this tax hike. It's unfortunate that it's come to this. We're looking at something that nobody can tell me what it's for. Nobody can tell me what it's about. And all I know is that it's really coming out of nowhere and excessive. And it's hurting the people. And if you hurt the people, you'll hurt the businesses. And if you hurt the businesses, it'll hurt the people even more. Well, I'd just like to ask you not to do it. If you have the power, change this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay. All right, we've got three more we're going to call here. We're almost to the end of the stack. Ms. Kimberly Lee. Ms. Kimberly Lee. Mr. Keith Thomas. Mr. Keith Thomas. Come on up, Ms. Lee. And then, so we have, that was Ms. Kimberly Lee as the first one, Keith Thomas as the second, that's Mr. Thomas. And the last one on this trio would be Miss Mary Walker. Mary Walker. Is there a Mary Walker on the inside? Okay, Mary Walker. All right, Miss Lee, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. You have to pardon me, I don't have my reading glasses with me. I was driving by. I usually, first of all, I've lived in Georgia for 28 years. I'm originally from Chicago, and I am an educator in Gwinnett County, but I live in Rockdale. So usually I drive down 138, but I came to avoid the traffic, so I came down this way. And I saw everybody outside. I went and got my mom. We live in Rockdale County. She's 83. She's in the cool part of the church. And what concerned me is when I first moved here and I lived in Gwinnett, they had a sign. And it said, Gwinnett is great. Success lives here. Rockdale County is great. And success lives here as well. And I think what I'm most concerned about and just really appalled, if I could be transparent, is a tax increase on the houses of 45%, 18%, 50%, whatever it's going to be, when we can't even get people to cut the grass in the common areas. Okay? I don't know if you drive around the county like I drive around the county. And I had written an email to someone that said it was the city of Conyers' responsibility. Then I got someone else's name, and then it was the state of Georgia's responsibility. But it's not well kept. If I want to have a family reunion and say come to Conyers, there are no great parks in Conyers. The grass is not kept. I know a lady, her name is Dr. Kim McDermott. I know that she's a part of the school district here. I don't know what her role is, but I knew her from when she was in Gwinnett and now she's in Rockdale. I have friends that are administrators at Rockdale schools. We like to talk about administrative stuff. I go to their schools. The grass is not cut at the schools. The hospitals, you know, we have the Piedmont around the corner. It's not great. We don't have any amenities. One thing that the pandemic has taught me is that psychological safety, emotional well-being is important to everyone. I don't care if you are Republican, a Democrat, independent, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. You just want to be well. You want to be able to live in your home. and you want certain amenities. I know that I work 10, 12-hour days. I work 10 hours today. Okay, put my flip-flops on and came back on up here. If I want to go and get a massage, I can't get one. Not in Rockdale County, because we don't have those kind of amenities. I don't even know what's being built right a mile and a half down the street from my house. I can't even get out of my car to see. It's a sign on the side. There's no sidewalk. Okay, I think they're building townhomes. I went to Conyers to see, and I couldn't find out. I had to go to the Rockdale something. So this is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to raise the prices. We don't even have raised price on property tax amenities. It's ridiculous, and I know this for sure. We will band together, and we will vote you out, and you will be jobless.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Certainly do appreciate you coming out this evening, Ms. Kimberly Lee. All right, Mr. Keith Thomas. Mr. Thomas?
Well, look, my first question is, I put everything more or less in the question. Am I going to get answers here, or is that going to be given to me later, or how are we going to do that?
Well, what I would suggest you go ahead with your question, and then we'll follow from there,
Okay,
Mr. Thomas.
we may eat up at 3 minutes in.
All right.
You know, I didn't find out about this till 5:30, and it's my fault for not knowing a little bit better about what's going on. I used to be very active in the county, but I will assure you of this. I will damn sure be active going forward, period. One of the things I want to ask is that you got a lot of businesses in Rockdale County. How many of these businesses have tax incentives where they're not paying any property taxes at this time? How many are we offering tax incentives to businesses to come here? What I think is going to happen is those businesses that are here may leave, and the tax digest go down further. Okay? It ain't only about the senior citizens. I'm a senior citizen now and very proud of that part. But it's about everybody coming here. A young family starting out has the same tax and food basis and car things as I do. Okay? That's one. So I'd like to know how we did that. As far as businesses, I'd like to know them all. Two, do I understand that we developed a stormwater department a while back? And if so, how much did that cost the taxpayers for that? Could we have not held off a year or two for things to got better, leveled out? Is that the possibility? I would like to know an answer on that. One of the most important things that comes to me is everybody, I've heard all these rumors and things here, is everybody here eligible, as county commissioners, eligible to vote on this tax increase? Are we all eligible to vote on this tax increase? All right, I'm going to go back with a little history. Years ago, 20-plus years ago, stood before the Board of Commissioners. Board of Commissioners back then wouldn't listen. Wouldn't listen. We built a reservoir across the field, the street, from an unlined landfill. Okay? What does that have to do with taxes? Well, the tax dollars built that reservoir. Okay? We could not draw water out of the reservoir. We had to go down below the horse part, which is another animal that this city and county has taken on, that we did not need, to draw the water from down there. And we tried to tell them that from the get-go. Save the money for the reservoir, draw the water from below the horse part, it'll give us all the water we need. We fought that for 7 years. I financed my house twice to fight that. It's a shame that I've been here, my grandparents moved here in 1939. I've been here my whole entire life. And it's a shame that I'm standing here the second time before the Board of Commissioners that I think that we're going to go down the wrong path if we don't step back a minute and look at this thing correctly. All right? And I'll leave it at that. But here's something that I heard with numerous people. People talk about an audit. An audit is something that should be done timely, regular. If there's a problem with an audit being done, then I'm going to suggest it may need to be an investigation. Okay? Now, I want everybody to understand that. I consider each one of you guys friends. I know you personally, and I'm not here to hammer you, but I'm asking, and I think everybody here is asking, step back a minute. We're not going to go broke in the next 60 days if we take a fair look at this. Because if we're still giving tax incentives for businesses to come here, and I know we are, there's a bunch of them who have 20 years with that tax incentive that's not paying any property tax. But the problem may be we run them all out of here, period. And what do you think is going to happen to that tax base in? Now, last and final, what happens if everybody here in this whole county quits paying taxes all at the same time? We're going to have a major problem. Please consider, everybody here today, we're all big boys and girls. Please step back, take another 60, 90 days, and let's look at this thing and go fairly, and let's attract people to come to this county and not force them out. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Walker. I'm fairly new both to Georgia and Rockdale. I know you, Doreen. However, I lived in Ashburn, Virginia. That's Northern Virginia. Taxes are high. Services are fantastic. Okay? I retired. Property values were nice. I reduced my living quarters 50%. In 4 years, my taxes are equal to what I was paying as a senior in Virginia. I had 5 grocery stores in walking distance. I could walk out to dinner. The streets had trees. The driveways, the middle of the street had flowers. What are we doing as a county? Then I moved into what was to be an active adult community. New, okay, my oldest sister wanted me here because I was alone. I go in, what happens? After the main street gets built, we as senior citizens were told, not asked or informed by the builder that, oh, we're just going to take this and we're going to make it something else. I actually went to see the mayor. I was so mad. Okay? 4 years, never once have my streets been paved. I really don't think you want to make me mad. Because I am active. I was not active because I was trying to understand you all. But this is ridiculous. Not only do I not have the community I came to, but nobody cared. And if you're going to run a city, if you're going to run a county, then you need to be responsible. I don't know any of you personally, but I know I have to balance my bank account. Yes. And I have to pay my mortgage. But a house that is now selling for $1 million in Ashburn, Virginia, and I'm almost paying the same thing as a senior in Conyers, Georgia, with no services. Okay? I believe we need to back up, take a look at what we want for our citizens, look at what we want for our services, and I will volunteer to be a citizen if you all want a senior. So thank you, I yield and I oppose.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. We certainly appreciate you coming out this evening. Just a few more. We have Mr. Eddie Howell Jr., Mr. George Kelichek, and Ms. Jacqueline Reed. Mr. Eddie Howell Jr., Mr. George Kelichek, and Ms. Jacqueline Reed. Come on up, Mr. Kelachek, come on up. Come on up, yes, sir.
Good evening, Board, citizens of Rockdale County. In the Rockdale Citizen dated July 30th, it's saying that the Chamber is leading front porch discussions on our community vision. My question would be, I thought you and Vince Evans and Terry Oates were already having meetings continuously. If so, then they would know, and you would know, that if you're a citizen in the city in Rockdale County, we're going to have to save an additional $7,296 to pay for our taxes and our cost of living increases in this next upcoming year. So, I don't know, I guess you guys aren't having meetings, so you have to have a front porch discussion. Secondly, use Advancing Rockdale. Use your Envision Rockdale. Here's your plans. You've got them. But you must not be talking, because there's 3 silos: the Board of Education, the Board of Commissioners, and the City Council. Now, it's unbelievable that we're having to be here as citizens talking to this group tonight regarding a 45.6% increase. I believe, along with our membership of the Eye of the Taxpayer Association, that you need to find a retired actuary and a retired economist to help you all, along with Mr. Mark Lewis, to make sound business acumen decisions. We have 3 minutes. Why not, like Putnam County, Georgia, have an open mic night once a quarter? You'll find out what's on the citizens' minds. That'll be transparent. And regarding an audit, we need a forensic, deep dive audit. Not only for the county, but for the city and the Board of Education. Period. Finally, there's 300 churches that you talk about in Rockdale County. Why don't you employ them or have them clean up the 4 intersections on I-20 in Rockdale County? You want economic development? Clean it up. Use the churches. You're always talking with them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kelachek, and we appreciate you. Ms. Reed, come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Board. What I'd like to say is I want to know what Rockdale County is doing to attract commercial businesses to the county to alleviate some of the tax burdens from our citizens. I think that's what a lot of counties do, and they're successful at it. Because we can't continue with these increases. I've been in Rockdale County 3 years, and my taxes have increased 3 times. I don't know why. And to continue this way, you know, one day I hope to be a senior citizen and still be in my house. I don't want to be taxed out of my house eventually. So I think we need to go back to the table. A lot of people have said some really good things here today. And I think that all of this stuff needs to be taken into consideration, and we need to come together again, because I can't talk about mental health. That's stressful. This is the type of stuff that will keep people up at night, and you need to be productive in the morning to work to pay your taxes. So I think we just need to go back to the table, and we need to be reasonable. This percentage of 17% increase in salaries for county employees has been kicked around a lot. As regular citizens working, at best, you might get a 3% cost of living increase. So the math, it just doesn't add up to me. And I thank you for your time and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. So, Mr. Eddie Howell Jr., Mr. Eddie Howell Jr. Okay, and Mr. Lee Wright. I saw Mr. Lee, he was across the street holding a sign earlier. And Mr. Anthony Carter. Anthony Carter.
Mr. Chairman, while we have just a bit of a pause, I was sent an email for a public comment to be read aloud from a citizen who has ADA issues.
Yes,
so if you
ma'am.
don't mind, I'll just go ahead and do that now.
I think this would be a good time to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is from Miss Rosetta Brown, and she asked that this be read aloud tonight. And it says, "Attention Rockdale County Board of Commissioners, in reference to the public hearings on the millage rate, please read to all three commissioners. Greetings, Chairman Oz Nesbitt Sr., Sherry L. Washington, Dr. Dorween Williams, and public and virtual listeners. My name is Rosetta Brown, senior citizen of this county, blind member of the National Federation of the Blind of Georgia and the Living Life Team. I speak for all Rockdale County citizens who are in absolute opposition of such a drastic increase in the millage rate. Your announced intention to adopt a 2022 millage rate, which will require an increase in property taxes by 45.42%. This tentative increase will result in a millage rate of 20.758 mils, an increase of 6.483 mils. This will be a tremendous financial burden for so many Rockdale residents. My recommendation is that you reconsider this matter and cancel this property tax. Sincerely, Rosetta Brown."
Thank you, and thank you to Ms. Rosetta Brown. We certainly do appreciate her sending in her comments. Did you have, so Mr. Lee Wright with nothing? Okay. We were calling names, Mr. Eddie Howell Jr., Mr. Anthony Carter, and Mr. Lee Wright. We're going to put them in the recall stack here. So at this point, I'll call Miss Mildred Johnson. Ms. Johnson was here earlier this morning. I think she may have come out again. Ms. Mildred Johnson. Ms. Johnson, come on in.
It's warm out there. Yes, I was here this morning, but I decided I needed to come back and talk again.
Yes, ma'am. Pull the mic down so they can hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
can you hear
ma'am.
me now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. First of all, let me say, I made an observation this morning that you had a lot of county employees sitting in these rows out here, and you had a lot of senior citizens in wheelchairs and on canes standing outside in the heat. Not one county employee, offered to give up their seat and let a senior come in and sit down out of the heat. Now, that's just a little bit ridiculous, don't you think? Okay. Another reason I'm here is because I think it's a shame that every time we have something big in this county going on, like Trashgate and like courthouse complex, and now this, that it takes bringing out a bunch of people to try and get you guys' attention. That should not happen. You should be fiscally responsible enough to do the right thing without us having to come out here and talk to you every time you try to ram these things down our throat. It's ridiculous. Be fiscally responsible. I know how much I make, and I know how much I have to pay out. And if I don't have the money to pay it out, I go get a job. I have a part-time job that I try to live on what I make. And that's what you guys need to do. You need to start looking at what you've got going on and try and figure out how are we going to live, on this. How are we going to do for the county on this? And stop spending money that you don't have. Because sooner or later, these people like me, senior citizens, are on fixed incomes, and new people are not going to come into this county. We're going to leave. And then what are you going to do? You're not going to have any tax money at that point. So you need to listen. We tried to talk to you about this courthouse complex in 2018 when 70% of the voters came out and said, no, we didn't want it. So what y'all do, you ram through a facilities authority through the legislature to bypass all that. And so now you're going to hit us again with taxes, when you start issuing $110 million bonds. That's going to go on our tax receipts too. So, we can't win because y'all are not fiscally responsible. And yes, we need a forensic audit badly.
This is Mr. Allgood.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Good evening, Mr. Allgood.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm a little shaken up after being illegally detained and my Fourth Amendment constitutional right being violated by Rockdale County Sheriffs. And I have a slight bruising on my wrist, but bear with me. All right, so I've noticed that you always thank the citizens whenever you're done, but I have yet to hear one of the citizens thank the board members for anything that y'all have done. That's not good on y'all's part. Let's see here. We haven't had any improvements in stormwater, even with the new charges of our taxes. We have water main breaks every 2 weeks. Our roads haven't been properly repaved in years, and I've seen better in Afghanistan. Our county hasn't made any improvements, only maintenance, and I use that word loosely. As some of the Rockdale County employees know me, since I do currently work for Rockdale, I see the inside of it. I'm ashamed. I pay taxes to see my money wasted. Is that right, Director? Let's see here. We have higher crime rates from the sheriff's office, prisoners walking out of jail, officers breaking the laws themselves, violating people's rights, getting arrested, an HR that takes weeks to hire people, and responds to ongoing complaints. That's shameful. Oh, that's bad. All right. We have salary employees that do not show up on a scheduled work time. They show up and leave whenever they want to. That's theft. They need to come in like every hourly employee does. Why raise the taxes or the millage rate when you haven't made a single improvement at all? There's no accountability within this board between lavish spendings on retreats, spending on new vehicles, using county vehicles like $500,000 fire trucks as personal grocery getters. We've all seen it. That is not how the law is written. I know because I got written up for that. The board has personally violated people's EEO rights, civil rights, ADA rights, and constitutional rights, and their own policies that y'all have signed in. Y'all can't even follow y'all's own rules, but you want everybody else to. Shameful. Do as I say, not as I do. So, why are we raising the millage rate? Is it to pay off people's lawsuits? Because trust me, I will be filing at least 2 from this county. Mr. Chairman, why is ESG always sponsoring everything that you put out? Just about everything. I don't want to abuse records. Are you getting any kickback? Because they're double dipping in the water department. Double charging the water department. Rockdale County. Is that my time?
That's your time, sir.
Oh.
Just in time.
I still have more. But don't worry, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you, Mr. Allgood. We appreciate you coming out this evening. I want to, at this time, I want to make sure we go back through the non-responsive list to make sure we give an opportunity for all those folks who filled out a card. I want to make sure we call their names, make sure that we didn't overlook anybody. Mr. Lee Wright. Chief, I'm going to lay these up here for you to, I'll put them in one stack at one time. Mr. Anthony Carter, Mr. Eddie Howell Jr., Miss Kathy Denny.
See, outside, they swear that you're in here.
Which one, who's that?
Miss Denny.
Lord have mercy. Come on up, Miss Denny. I don't know how you could miss this old baritone voice with this microphone, Miss Denny, but I guess it got so good to you there, you didn't even hear your name called.
Well, I heard it, but I didn't say anything
All
after
right.
they dismissed it.
Well,
I really don't have much to say because everyone has really made big points tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of them have done the research, and I'm so impressed with these people. And I see that Rockdale has a lot of potential people that can run for office if we need it.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, when we go every year and open our tax bill, and we see, and it's like, okay, how much is it going to be up this year? How much more is it going to be? But if you don't pay property taxes in Rockdale, you don't know what we feel. So that concerns me, that if you don't, how do you feel our pain? And also the young people. I don't want to forget the young people that are here. They're trying to build a family, and they're trying to start something, and this is just as hard on them with children and the food that they're having to pay. My mother worked for the county. She worked for the county commissioner when it was a one man. She is probably rolling over in her grave knowing what our taxes are going, and she would be one of the first ones up here complaining about the cost that it has gone up through the years and the service. Yes, we need an audit. You should be welcoming an audit. Why not? You need to prove to the citizens of Rockdale County, hey, we are doing a good job. We can show you that we've done right. And maybe they can show you some improvements of where you can do better. Because it's not about y'all. It's about everybody and what we can do in Rockdale County to keep the taxes down. Oh, we have one other thing that I thought about. Gwinnett County senior citizens pay no school tax. No school tax. And we look at here, that's one of our major part of the tax bill that we have to pay. If they can get by without having it, we should at least be able, and that's at 65. We should be able to do it, to cut it. But then again, the millage rate, the young people, everyone else in Rockdale needs a break from that and to see some services. And please consider it.
Thank you, Ms. Denny. Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts tonight. Mr. William Richardson, I want to call that name again, Mr. William Richardson. Also, we called earlier Ms. Pansy Drummond Martin. Okay. And Crayco. Mary Crayco. Okay. All right. Paulette Mullins, Ms. Paulette Mullins, and Ms. Lorna Forbes. Chief, is there anyone else out?
The last time I went and asked those two that came in, but we asked them to get that announcement one more time.
Okay, I'm gonna hold tight on you.
Hey, Oscar, may I add myself as well?
If you would, I'd like for you to come on up at this time, and we'll be glad to hear from you. Yes, sir.
Sorry, Oscar.
That's okay.
Yeah, my name's Brian Lunsford. I live right here in Old Town. My mom worked for the county for over 25 years. I know, or at least have passed a lot of you. I went to J.H. House Elementary School, went to Conyers, went to Rockdale, and I'm still here. I haven't left, you know. A lot of my friends have. And they're like, how in the world do you stay in Rockdale County? And I said, it's my home. And I've been here for 34 years. Met my wife here. I go to First Baptist Conyers. I'm a deacon at First Baptist Conyers. I guarantee you, the gentleman asked for the churches to help. We'll help. You know, I know Conyers Presbyterian, First, United Methodist. We'll help. But one of my major concerns is at our church we do focus on younger families, on the younger generation. Don't get me wrong. 65 and older, senior citizens and taxes, I understand your battle. But my battle is our future. The next generation, the next families. We focus on the church pouring into the younger generation. We focus on families coming and loving Rockdale County. This just proves my friends right that have left Rockdale County for one reason or another, that they shouldn't come back. And I really think that should change. And this just, the tax just gives one more reason to kind of put that dagger in and twist it. And just thank you for everything you do, but I oppose. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lunsford. Thank you so much. Okay, so that concludes our public comment portion of the millage rate hearing this evening. Let me just say thank you to all of you for coming out. Some of you had the opportunity to come out this morning. I do want to just take a moment, and we're going to go into board comment. You're going to hear from both of your two county commissioners. Just let me just take a moment to say, again, thank you for coming out and sitting through and affording everybody an opportunity to have their say and have their voices heard this evening. There will not be, of course, a decision made tonight. On August the 16th, this board will render a vote and make a decision as relates to the millage rate. We encourage you to come back out to the next meeting, and our director will give those dates and times in just a moment here. But we also want to encourage you to, honestly, to stay involved. Stay on the scene and stay involved. Visit our website for dates, times, and information. Feel free to, several of you all have done a fantastic job with sending in multiple emails. We encourage you to continue to do that. A lot of our information is on the website, and I will say from this morning's meeting to this meeting this evening, we did make some changes. We did hear from you. We listened. There's some other changes that will be coming forward as a result of this meeting and a result of you all being able to speak out and share with us some of the thoughts and ideas about the direction we need to go. The biggest thing, and I mentioned this morning, one of our biggest challenges is communication, and making sure that the information is disseminated properly throughout the county. We don't have a Atlanta media outlet source like a Fox 5 or 11 that's rooted in Rockdale. We receive that information through the local news when we watch. The newspaper industry, as you know, has faced many challenges through digital media. So we do rely still heavily on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have the county website still very much alive. In Rockdale County, one of the big benefits is that you do have a county where you can actually get a hold of your county chairman or your county commissioner. I was making a note from this morning and this evening's meeting, the number of people that I've actually know almost on a personal one-on-one basis, or the number of people that actually have my cell number, who I've talked to on multiple occasions for many reasons or another, be it good, bad, or indifferent. In this business, you have to have thick skin. This is the people business. We have to make tough decisions. No decision will be made tonight. I just want you to know that from your chairman's perspective, we hear you, and we hear you loud and very clear. I acknowledge this morning, as I will right now, inflation is out of the roof. Gas prices are out of the roof. Food prices out of the roof. We understand, and I really do appreciate the lady who came in earlier who made mention of these corporations that are coming into our communities all across the country, particularly here in the South, not just Atlanta, but in Rockdale County. And they're purchasing homes by the record numbers. And they just don't care about communities or anything like that. And they're buying up these properties, and we're getting all kind of folks. I got a text message at 2 a.m. Monday morning, I did, from a resident that showed me a video and photos, of a neighbor in her subdivision, and this is the night before school started in Rockdale County, which was Sunday night. And kids were trying to get prepared for school, and so were the parents. But it was at 2 o'clock in the morning. No one should have been having a loud party, a loud music event at that time of the morning. The sheriff was dispatched. We responded, and that individual was dealt with by the local sheriff's office, and the message was sent very clearly. We want to make sure that upstanding citizens are attracted to our community. And when we hear so much about the need for new industry, whether it be retail, hospitality, restaurants, and all of those things, that will certainly ease some of the tax burden in this county. We have some influence, but not all of the control. And what I mean by that, industries have to make their decisions based upon demographic, median household income, and all of those things. I want to assure you this evening that we've heard you and that we hear you very loud and very clear. We're going to prove it, and you're going to see that on the vote on the 16th of August. Now, let me just share this with you. In the world of great change and moving the county forward, there's always going to be challenges and obstacles. As I said to the folks that live on the Rockbridge Road corridor in the Lake Cabri area, and some of you all may be in here this evening, when the bridge went out about 2 whole years ago, what an inconvenience. But this board is not interested in patching up an unsafe bridge, but thinking 50+ years beyond now and making sure we plan ahead to give the citizens in this community who are going to be here well after a lot of us are long gone. Forward thinking has to be incorporated. I want to take a moment as the leader, as the chairman, and take full, complete ownership, because I do believe that leadership is ownership. I must tell you, I am embarrassed. We had another organization booked and reserved to utilize the Rockdale auditorium that was already on the books for this morning, so we couldn't access that facility at that time. I do agree with several of you who've talked about the fact that you had to wait outside. We have had several of our large meetings over in the auditorium. We got to do better. And as your chairman, I want to take ownership. I'm not going to point not one single blame. I'm just going to accept the ownership as the responsible party as the chairman of the county. So I want to just close on that we hear you. I want you to hear from the 2 commissioners who I'm about to yield to, Commissioner Washington here, and then Commissioner Williams, regarding their comments concerning the millage rate hearing. Commissioner Washington.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for coming out and saying the things that are on your heart, the things that I see on Nextdoor, on Facebook, on Instagram. It's good to put faces with names, put faces with families, to be able, so that not just us, but the people that recommend financial policies can see what we know is going on in this county, so that they can see how what they recommend will affect all of you all. Like they said, we haven't made a decision yet. I've said it before, that I think that people want to see their money. They want to see clean streets. They want to see clean, cut grass. That's been said numerous times here. And I think that when you see your money, then it goes a long way in, it shows that we appreciate your tax dollars. And I think that that's the thing that you all want to see more than anything. You all want to feel heard. You want for us to know that we are listening to you all. But some of that is a two-way conversations. We need to have more two-way conversations. You all need to know, you all should be more involved in the budget process. The budget process starts next week. We start our budget hearings not hearings, but presentations next week, so that you all can come and hear what the departments are asking for, what they believe we need to move this county forward. Someone may mention that there are not a lot of amenities here. All of that takes money. So a lot of times we're in between a rock and a hard place, because we need to provide the services, the fire and rescue, the things that they do when we do have our summer concert series at Costley Mill Park. That thing is packed and people are enjoying it. But that takes staff, that takes resources. And so we have to take all of those things in consideration when we make decisions on how to spend your money. One thing I did like that came out tonight is the open mic night, and I think that that's a good idea, because I would like to hear from you all more on a more regular basis, not just when you're upset that your taxes are going to come up. I would like to have more open communications. So like the chairman has said, there's been no decision made tonight, and I will reserve the rest of my comments for when we are rendering the decision.
Okay, Commissioner Williams.
So I'd like to also thank everybody for coming out tonight. It was a little, we had a good group this morning. I think we had a few more tonight, but we had a lot this morning. But once the Board of Commissioners meeting started, everybody left. There were only a couple of people who stayed for that meeting. That's where we discuss contracts coming up, grant monies received, all kinds, the actual functioning of the county. And so I would encourage you to attend our board meetings. They are held the first, second, and fourth Tuesdays at 10 a.m. right here, and the third Tuesday at 6 p.m. in this building. Because some of you have said, I really don't know what goes on, but that's where the information is in those board meetings. You can access the agendas online, and the documents that support it, and you can see where our tax dollars are going. I want to make a couple comments that I made this morning. The forensic audit has come up again. I want to tell you about that process. This last year, we contracted with a brand new, never used in Rockdale County accounting firm who came in and did our audit. Previously, we had used the same auditor for a number of years. Got a brand new one, came in. Their evaluation said that our finances were in good shape, that there was no indication of misuse. You can find that audit report on our website. And so I didn't mention this morning, but by initiating a forensic audit, the consequence of that is our rating goes down, our credit rating goes down, and then it costs more to borrow money. So the decision was made not to follow through with a forensic audit because the auditors said nothing showed any misuse of funds and that everything looked good. They did make some suggestions for better efficiency and for better reporting, and Director Lewis is working with us on doing that and taking in their suggestions. So I just wanted to go through that. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about. Well, there was something I said this morning that I was going to repeat, but I can't find it on my notes. But I do want to point out that someone mentioned that Newton County's tax or millage rate was 14 or something, and somebody's was 9.
Newton is 9, I think Gwinnett's 14.
Okay, so I had it the other way around. So ours at 18.69, those two counties do not have the host tax. Your responsibility of that piece of the millage rate is 30%. The host tax offsets 70% of your tax bill. So 30% of 18.69 means that the millage rate you would actually be paying is 5.607. The 1% sales tax would cover that, the rest of that for you. That doesn't show up on that initial tax assessor's bill that you get, because that's just an estimate, but it will be on your the tax bill that will be collected in the fall. So, I think that is all that I have to say.
Okay. All right, Commissioner. I'm going to go now to Executive Director Rutledge to give us the dates of our next millage rate hearing, and we'll talk about the date of the actual vote, because that's what people are highly interested in.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's one more public hearing on the millage rate that'll be held next Tuesday, the 9th at 10 a.m. And the board will take the vote to set the millage rate on Tuesday, August 16th at 6 p.m. And I just wanted to take just a second, Mr. Chairman. I heard some people in the audience during board comment. You can access all of this information on our website, and we will make sure that we get your email addresses off of your public comment card that you sent in, and you will be also part of the email blast, and we do encourage attendance at every one of the board meetings. This way you will have the calendar available too.
I want to go back to Commissioner Williams. Oftentimes we have a little bit of thought-provoking. Did you come back to mind as to what you were thinking? I know this morning.
No, it didn't.
You made mention of the democracy.
Oh, wait, I found it.
All right, there you go. There you go.
Okay, so I wanted to, the other thing I mentioned was that the school board has actually put in a process through the state legislature that was approved, and on your November ballot, you will have an opportunity to vote for a larger exemption for senior citizens on your school board taxes. So it's not a complete 100% no tax, but it is a larger exemption on your property value, and then, so that should lower your school taxes, if it passes the vote. So get your friends and neighbors to vote yes on that particular thing on the ballot.
Chief Cabe, any final comments from you, sir?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, no comments.
Director Rutledge, is there any need for executive session this evening?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Before you break the meeting, all three of you have mentioned that you'd like to have a back and forth.
Here's what I'd like for you to do, Mr. Flowers. Here's what I'd like for you to do, Mr. Flowers. Come to the podium. Thank you, sir. That's okay. That's all right.
So all three commissioners have mentioned that you wanted to have a back and forth with your citizens, but your citizens are right here. We have questions for you. You mentioned that we have to pay for things. Absolutely. Tell us what they are.
So here's, Mr. Flowers, here's what I'm going to explain to you. So I think you bring up a very valid point for dialogue to be engaged by the commissioners and the citizens. And they're open to that.
Sure.
As for the purpose of this meeting, the millage rate hearing, here's what I want to encourage you to do. I'm going to adjourn the meeting in just a second. Stand tall, talk to Commissioner Washington, Commissioner Williams, reach out to my office if you need to schedule time to come in and have a dialogue with us. Sure. We'll be glad to do that. I did hear what Commissioner Washington said. She said she was in favor of having an open mic night. She didn't say she was in favor of having it tonight.
Well, that's what I was asking you,
I know,
and you invited me out.
Mr. Flower, I know, because I wanted to give you the opportunity. To,
sure.
I've gone over and above to make sure that no one leaves here saying that he didn't let me talk. So I allowed you to talk, and I hear what you're saying. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned.
If you all would